All right, as the man think. Second, beautiful. Just breathe. I centered. Whatever your I see, mind grasp. Breathe. Fine, we can do it. Effect of thought on health and body. The body is a servant of the mind. It obeys the operations of the mind, whether they be deliberately chosen or automatically expressed as the bidding of unlawful thoughts. This body sinks rapidly into disease and decay. As the command of the glad and beautiful thoughts, it becomes clothed with youthfulness and beauty. Disease and death, like circumstances, are rooted in thought. Sickly thoughts will express themselves through a sickly body. Thoughts of fear have been known to kill a man as speedily as a bullet, and they are continually killing thousands of people just as surely, though less rapidly. The people who live in fear of disease are the people who gate it. Anxiety quickly demoralizes the whole body and lays it open to the entrance of disease, while impure thoughts, even if not physically indulged, will sooner shatter the nervous system. Strong, pure, and happy thoughts build up the body in vigor and grace, the body of a delicate and plastic instrument which responds rapidly to the thoughts by which it is impressed, and habits of thought will produce their own effects, good and bad, upon it. Man will continue to have impure and poisoned thoughts so long as they propagate unclean thoughts. Out of the clean heart comes a clean life and a clean body. Out of the defiled and mind proceeds a defiled life and corrupt body. Thought is the fount of action, life, and manifestation. Make the fountain pure, and all will be pure. Change of diet will not help a man who will not change his thoughts. When a man makes his thoughts pure, he no longer desires impure food. Clean thoughts make clean habits, and so-called saint who does not wash his body is not a saint. He who that strengthened and purified his thoughts does not need to consider the malevolent microbe. If you would perfect your body, guard your mind. If you would renew your body, beautify your mind. Thought of malice, envy, disappointment, despondency rob the body of its health and grace. A sore face does not come by chance, it is made by sore thoughts and ills that mar are drawn by folly, passion, pride. I know a woman of 96 who has the bright, innocent face of a girl. I know a man well under middle age whose face is drawn into inharmonious counters. The one is a result of sweet and sunny dispositions, the other of outcome of passion and discontent. As you cannot have a sweet and wholesome abode unless you admit the air and sunshine freely into your rooms, so the strong body and bright, happy, and serene countenance can only result from the free admittance into the mind of thoughts of joy and goodwill, serenity. See, I said. Pretty, right? We are enjoying really. Just forget yourself, like imagine, and no disturbance, no distractions whatsoever. Stay put. We have to flow. On the faces of the age, there are wrinkles made by sympathy, others by strong and impure thoughts, and others are carved by passion. Who cannot distinguish them? With those who have lived righteously, age is calm, peaceful, and softly mellowed, like the setting sun. I have recently seen a philosopher in his deathbed. He was not old except in years. He died as sweetly and peacefully as he had lived. There is no physician like cheerful thought for dissipating the ills of the body. There is no comforter to compare a goodwill but for disposing the shadows of grief and sorrow. To live continuously in thoughts of ill will, cynicism, suspicion, and envy is to be confined in a self-made prison home. But to think well of all, to be cheerful with all, is to patiently learn to find the good in all. Such and selfish thoughts are the very potence of heaven, and to dwell day by day in the thoughts of peace toward every creature will bring abounding peace in our to their possessor. Thoughts and purpose. You see from here the ball, play it down, hold it, breath, and then flow. Okay, got it? Yes. Thought and purpose. Until thought is linked with purpose, there is no intelligent accomplishment. With the majority of bark of thought is allowed to drift upon the ocean of life. Aimlessness is a vice, and such drifting must not continue for him who would steer clear of catastrophe and destruction. They who have no central purpose in their life fall an easy prey to petty worries, fear, troubles, and self pitying, all of which are indications of weakness which lead just as surely as deliberately planned sins, though by a different route, to failure, unhappiness, and loss. For weakness cannot persist in a power evolving universe. A man should conceive of a legitimate purpose in his heart and set out to accomplish it. He should make this purpose the centralizing point of his thought. It may take a form of a spiritual ideal, or it may be worldly object according to his nature at the time being, but whichever it is, he should distinctly focus his thought forces upon the object which he has been set before him. He should make this purpose the supreme duty. He should devote himself to its attainment and allowing his thoughts to wander away from ephemeral fancies, longing, and imaginings. This is the royal road to self control and true concentration of thought. Even if he falls again and again to accomplish his purpose, as he necessarily must until weakness is overcome, the strength of character gained will be the measure of his true success, and this will form a new starting point for future power and triumph. Those who are not prepared for the apprehension of the great purpose should fix their thoughts upon the faultless performance of their duty, no matter how insignificant the task may appear. Only in this way can the thoughts be gathered and focus and resolution and energy be developed, which being done there is nothing which may not be accomplished. Lovely. The weakest soul, knowing his own weakness, believes this truth, that his strength can only be developed by effort and practice. With this, believing it once again to exert itself and adding effort to effort, patience after patience, strength with strength will never cease to develop and will at last grow divinely strong. As the physically weak man can make himself strong by careful patient training, so the man of the weak thoughts can make them among is strong by exercising himself in right thinking. To put away aimlessness and weakness and to begin to think with purpose is to enter the ranks of those strong ones who only recognize failure as one of the pathways to attain, who make all conditions serve them and to think strongly, attempt fearlessly, and accomplish masterfully. Having conceived of this purpose, a man should mark out a thought pathway to its achievement, looking neither to left or right. The doubts and fears should be rigorously excluded. They are disintegrating elements which break up the straight line of effort, rendering it crooked, indifferent, useless. Thoughts of doubt and fear never accomplish anything and never can. They always lead to failure. Purpose, energy, power to do, and all strong thoughts cease, wane. Doubt and fear creep in. The will to do springs from the knowledge that we can do. Doubt and fear are the great enemies of knowledge, and he who encourages them, who does not slay them, thoughts himself at every step. He who has conquered doubt and fear has conquered failure. His every thought is allied with power, and all difficulties are bravely met and wisely overcome. His purposes are reasonably planted, and they bloom and bring forth fruit that does not fall prematurely to the ground. Thoughts added fearlessly to purpose becomes creative force. He who knows this is ready to become something higher and stronger than the mere bundle of wavering thoughts and fluctuating sensations. He who does this has become the conscious and intelligent wielder of his mental powers. A thought factored in achievement. All that man achieves and all that he fails to achieve is the direct result of his own thoughts. It is justly ordered universally, where loss of occupies would mean total destruction. Individual responsibility must be absolute. A man's weakness and strength, purity, impurity are his own and not another's. They are brought about by himself and not by another, and they can only be altered by himself, never by another. His condition is also his own and not of another. His suffering and his happiness are evolved from within. As he thinks, so is he. As he continues to think, so he remains. A strong man cannot help a weaker unless that weaker is willing to be helped. And even when the weak man must become strong of himself, he must by his own effort develop the strength which is he admires in another, none but himself can alter his condition. It has been usual for men to think to say many men are slaves because one is the oppressor. Let us hate the oppressor. Now, however, there is among the increasing few a tendency to reverse this judgment and to say one man is the oppressor because many are slaves. Let us despise slaves. The truth is that oppressor and slave are co-operators in ignorance, and while seeming to afflict each other, aren't really afflicting themselves. A perfect knowledge perceives the action of law in the weakness of the oppressed and the misapplied power of the oppressor. Perfect love, seeing the suffering which both states entail, condemns neither. Perfect compassion embraces both oppressor and oppressed. He who has conquered weakness and has put away all selfish thoughts belongs neither to oppressor nor oppress his friend. A man can only rise, conquer, and achieve by lifting up his thoughts. He can only remain weak and object and miserably by refusing to lift up his thoughts. Before a man can achieve anything, even in worldly things, he must lift his thoughts above slavish animal indulgence. He may not, in order to succeed, give up all animality and selfishness by any means, but the portion of it must at least be sacrificed. A man whose first thoughts are bestial indulgence could neither think clearly nor plan methodically. He could not find and develop his latent resources and would fail in any undertaking. Not having commenced manfully to control his thought, he is not in a position to control affairs and to adopt serious responsibilities. He is not fit to act independently and stand alone, but he is limited only by the thoughts which he chooses. There can be no progress, no achievement without sacrifice, and a man's worldly success will be in the measure that he sacrifices his confused animal thought and fixes his mind on the development of his plans and the strengthening of his resolution and self-reliance. And the higher he lifts his thought, the more manly, upright, and righteous it becomes, the greater will be his success, the more blessed and enduring will be his achievements. The universe does not favor the greedy, the dishonest, the vicious, although on a mere surface it may sometimes appear to be do so. It helps the honest, magnanimous virtues. All the great teachers of the ages have declared that is in varying forms, and to prove and know it is man has put to persist in making himself more and more virtuous by lifting up his thoughts. Intellectual achievements are the result of thought consecrated to the search of foreknowledge and for the beautiful and the true in life and nature. Such achievements may be sometimes connected with vanity and ambition, but they are not the outcome of those characteristics. They are natural outgrowth of long and arduous effort and of pure and unselfish thoughts. Spiritual achievements are the consummation of the holy aspiration. He who lives constantly in the conception of the noble and lofty thoughts, who dwells upon all that is pure and selfless, will, as surely as the sun reaches its zenith and the moon is full, become wise and noble in character and rise into a position of influence and blessedness. Achievement of whatever kind is the crown of effort, the diadem of thought. By the aid of self-control, resolution, purity, righteousness, and well-directed thought, a man ascends to the age of animality, indolence, impurity, corruption, confusion of thought, and man descends. A man may rise to his success in the world and even to lofty altitudes, to spiritual realm, and again descend into weakness and wretchedness by allowing arrogant, selfish, corrupt thoughts to take possession of him. Victories attained by right thought can only be maintained only by the watchfulness. Wow. All achievements, whether in the business and intellectual or spiritual world, are the results of definitely directed thought, are governed by the same law and are on the same method. The only difference lies in the object of attainment. He who would accomplish little must sacrifice little. He who would achieve much must. He who would attain highly must sacrifice greatly. Very nice. Visuals and ideals. The dreamers are the saviors of the world. As the visible world is sustained by the invisible, so man, through all the trials and sins and sordid vocations, are nourished by the beautiful wishes of the solitary dreamers. Humanity cannot forget its dreamers. It cannot let their ideas fade and die. It lives in them. It knows them as the realities which shall one day see and know. Composer, sculptor, painter, poet, prophet, sage, these are the makers of the afterworld, the architects of heaven. The world is beautiful because they have lived without them. Letting humanity would perish. He who cherishes a beautiful vision, a lofty ideal in his heart will one day realize it. Columbus cherished the wisdom of another world. He discovered it. Copernicus fostered the vision of multiplicity of the worlds and wider universe, and he revealed it. Buddha beheld the vision of the spiritual world and senseless beauty and the perfect peace, and he entered into it. Cherish your vision, cherish your ideals, cherish the music that stirs in your heart, the beauty that forms in the mind, the loveliness that drips your purest thought, for out of them will grow all delightful conditions, all heavenly environments of these. If you but remain true to them, your world will at last be well. The desire is to obtain, to aspire is to achieve. Shall man's bestest desire receive the fullest measure of gratification, and his bestest aspiration is starved for the lack of sustenance? Such is not the law. Such a condition of things can never obtain, ask, and receive. Dream lofty dreams, and as you dream, you shall become. Your vision is a promise of what you shall one day be. Your ideal is the prophecy of what you shall at last and be. The greatest achievement was at first and for a time a dream. The oak sleeps in the corn. The bird waits in the egg, and in the highest vision of the soul, a walking angel stirs dreams are the seedling of realities. Your circumstances may be uncongenial, but they shall not long remain so if you receive an idol and strive to reach it. You cannot travel within and stand without. Here's a youth had hard pressed by poverty and labor, confined long hours in an unhealthy workshop, and schooled and lacking in the arts of refinement. But he dreams of better things. He thinks of intelligence, of refinement, of grace, of beauty. He conceives of mentally built up an ideal condition of life. The vision of vital liberty and a larger scope takes possession of him. Andres urges him to action, and he utilizes all his spare time and means small things, though they are to the development of his latent powers and resources. Very soon, the altered his mind becomes that the workshop can no longer hold him. It has become so out of harmony with his mentality that it falls out of his life as a garment. It's cast aside him with the growth of opportunities, that with the scope of the expanding powers, he passes out of it. Forever years later, we see this youth as a full grown man. We find him a master of certain forces of mind, which he wields at the worldwide influence and almost unequal power in his hands. He holds a cause of gigantic responsibilities. He speaks, and lo, lives are changed. Men and women hang upon his words and remold his characters. The sunlight, he becomes the fixed and the luminous center around which innumerable destinies revolve. He has realized the vision of his youth. He has become one with his ideal. And you too, youthful reader, will realize the vision, not the idle wish of your heart, be it the best or beautiful, or the mixture of both. For you will always gravitate towards that which you secretly most love. Into your worth hands will be placed the exact result of your own thoughts. You will receive that which you can, no more, no less. Whatever your present environment may be, you will fall, remain, or rise with your thoughts, your vision, your ideal. You will become as small as you are controlling desire, as great as your dominant aspirations. In the beautiful verse, you may be keeping accounts, and presently you should walk out of the door that for so long has seemed to you the barrier of your ideals, and should find yourself before an audience, a pen and still behind your ears, then skins on your fingers, and then and there shall pour out on the torrent of your inspirations. You may be driving sheep, and you shall wander into the city, vocal and open-minded, shall wander under the intrepid guidance of the Spirit in the studio of the Master. And after a time he shall say, I have nothing more to teach you. And now you have become the Master who did so recently dream of great things while driving sheep. You shall lay down the saw and plane to take upon yourself the regeneration of the world. The thoughtless, the ignorant, and the indolent, seeing only the apparent effects of the things and not the things themselves, talk of lack, of fortune, of chance. Seeing a man grow rich, they may how lucky he is. Observing another become intellectual, they exclaim how highly favored he is. And nothing is simply character and wide influence of man that they remark how chance aids him at every turn. They do not see the trials and failures and struggles which these men have encountered. In order to gain their experience, have to knowledge of the sacrifice they have made, of the undaunted efforts they have put forth, of the faith they have exercised, that they might overcome that apparently insurmountable and realization the vision of their heart. They do not know the darkness and the heart aches. They only see the light and joy and call it love. Do not see the long and the arduous journey, but only behold the pleasant goal and call it good fortune. Do not understand the process, but only perceive the result and call it chance. In all human affairs, there are efforts and there are results, and the strength of the effort is a measure of the result. Chance is not gifts, powers, material, intellectual, and the spiritual position are the fruits of effort. They are thoughts completed, objectives accomplished, visions realized. The vision that you glorify in your mind, the ideal that you endure, enthroned in your heart, and this you will build your life by, this you will become. Mhm. Serenity. Calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. It is a result of long and patient effort in self-control. In presence, it is indication of ripened experience and of more than ordinary knowledge of the laws and operations of thought. A man becomes calm in the measure that he understands himself as a thought evolving being. For such knowledge, necessity is the understandings of others as a result of thought, and as he develops the right understanding, he sees more and more clearly the internal relations of things. By the actions of these cause and effect, he ceases to fuss and fume and worry and grieve, and remains poised, steadfast, serene. The calm man, Vaheguru, Vaheguru.